Yo, what's up? It's September 5th. It is 8 o'clock my time in the morning, and I'm about to do another reaction video. I had so much fun doing the reaction video, and look, like, I'm not kidding myself. I realized that, like, I don't know, man. Like it's silly, but it's fun, and I'm about to preface a few things because, like, I want to be clear that while I am having a good time, I'm also not necessarily doing a bit, and I don't know some of the more obvious things to other YouTubers about YouTube itself. All right, so let's watch this video. Let's do this. Let's watch this video and see what they're talking about for the Rogue class and Dragon Age the Veilguard. I hope you can hear this. I was messing with the levels.
I'm Hillary Heidi, a producer at BioWare. Let's take a look at game progression in Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Hillary Heidi, producer of BioWare. But see, there's beta too, so I think he might be playing.
And companion progression. My goal is to build a rogue assassin who darts around my enemies and strikes them down with poison blades.
That's my second favorite thing to do.
I'll need to invest in the right skills, find and upgrade gear, and ensure my companions complement my strategy. Let's start by looking at skill progression. As you complete missions, find codex entries, explore the world, and kill enemies, you'll level up your class. Each new level grants more health and unlocks skill points. The Constellation skill tree is where you spend points to unlock new skills.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and just pause it. Okay, so a couple things I'm curious about that I've been wondering about is it looks like you can literally manually aim at your enemy in real time. Um, I'm excited about that because getting back into games, it's nice to like see that distinction. I've been playing a lot of Helldivers, which is a shooter, which you got to aim the reticle with a controller, and so I feel like I've been trying to play games that allow me to get better at aiming, and so to find out that Dragon Age is gonna like incorporate aiming is really exciting. And then I don't know if you noticed, but I mean, I suppose I could just back it up a little bit. At the end of the fight, he's firing the arrows, and then just at the end, he just switches to his swords. And so I'm wondering, like, is that going to be a button that just switches your weapon? You see the switch right there at the end? So I'm curious about how, if there's a button or if it's like an attack, if you just pick the attack and then use the weapon with that attack, which I think might be better.
And can specialize in a specific form of combat. Specializations unlock at level 20. Rogues can specialize as saboteur.
Okay, so they got Duelist, which goes all the way back to Isabella in the first game. I want to say a Duelist was a prestige class in the Origins game. Saboteur seems like something that is, well, okay, it's definitely new as far as I know in terms of classes, but everything seems like a progression of the previous games, even if it's a different title. So with Saboteur, I would imagine that's going to be where all of your Artificer stuff's going to be. So your traps, explosives, turning invisible, it's gonna probably be under Saboteur. And then this one is interesting. The Veil Ranger. Okay, remember? Okay, you don't remember because you didn't watch my last video. One day, though. Okay, so there's a character in your party, and she's considered, and I'm probably wrong with the term, but I think it's a veil jumper. But she's like a Indiana Jones type or Lara Croft type who finds treasures in and outside around the veil. And she looks like she has some really cool weapons and stuff. And I was mentioning in a previous video that in like Inquisition, especially in Inquisition and even in Dragon Age 2, your party is an example of prestige builds, what those prestige classes are like when you would use them. So I think that your Veil Ranger specialization is probably going to basically be her, the new lady in your party who's the Veil Jumper. The Saboteur, I don't really know who's going to be a Saboteur outside of you because the one dude he's like a mage hunter. Maybe he's I don't know. I'm excited to find out. But also I wanted to pause because as soon as she said constellations, I thought about something. In my playthrough, I'm doing a live stream of the Inquisition playthrough to make the Inquisitor I'm going to use in the Veilguard. I'm gonna build them live. So if you want to go back and watch the entire playthrough, you'll see the Inquisitor's whole journey. That you'll then see them recreated on my playthrough of the Veilguard. He's a rogue, and there's a whole aspect of the game where you have to like use this device to basically solve these little puzzles that are constellations in the sky. I don't think that was a popular game mechanic. I don't think I've actually completed them all. And the reason I didn't complete them all is because someone did, and you can get the answers. And the payoff, it just, you know what I mean? And so there was someone who did do some extensive commentary on the fact that that was kind of like a letdown. And I'm guessing they probably omitted it because I feel like they're going to try and omit as many letdowns as they possibly can. And this screen I'm looking at looks eerily similar to that constellation puzzle screen. So I feel like this is going to be the representation because if you take the time to do those constellation puzzles, it speaks directly to the lore, and it speaks directly to the lore that Solus knows, which is like the most real history of Thetis. And so I think those constellations and those puzzles are going to factor in heavily into what the player can glean about the new enemies in the Veilguard. But let's get back to the video.
Tours, Veil Rangers, or Duelists. I'm going to build toward the Duelist specialization,
Cause she's
which
dope.
emphasizes agility and poisoning enemies with necrotic damage. There are 4 types of skills:
Poison is overpowered
traits,
in Inquisition.
passives, abilities, and ultimates. Traits are activated by button combos. The Riposte trait launches a powerful counterattack after a successful parry or defend. Passives are skills that are always active. The Death's Blessing passive gives you plus 10% necrotic damage.
Cool. I I felt like one thing that Dragon Age could have always done, and again, they're not doing it here, and it's just something that it's a hill I'll have to die on because I seem to be the only person who feels this way, despite not being the most well versed in tabletop games. I still don't understand why role playing video games make the character start off at level 1 or 0. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. You mean to tell me, Rook, this dude we just met in this bar, whooping all this ass, this capable dude, is a level 1 expert? Like for real? Like I feel like there is no great justification for doing that, but they do it anyway. Like I felt like Dragon Age Inquisition, based on the story alone, is a level 10 adventure. And when you make your character, he's just level 10. He just like when you look at their backstories, their exploits, they're not noobs. They're not brand new. They're not fresh off the boat. And I feel like you can still get hundreds of hours of gameplay starting at level 10. Like you just can totally do that. And I think the way you can do that is passives. I felt like Inquisition did a great job with some awesome passive abilities, and the more passive abilities, the better because it lets you focus on your core, like your limited buttons on your controller, and you can sort of like not worry so much about the micromanagement because passive abilities are easier to kind of plug in and plug out. And I feel like it doesn't feel as limiting because you're going to start to see how dope your character is based on these little passive buffs that don't take up a slot. I feel like more passives adjust the leveling, and I feel like it fits the narrative better. Like I don't understand. Rook is about to be level 1, and that's not gonna make sense to me. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna love it, but it's gonna bother me.
Abilities are actions you trigger during combat. With the Toxic Dash ability, you dash toward your target to land a deadly blow, dealing necrotic damage. This also applies the Sundered status, but we'll talk more about statuses when we get to companions. And finally, ultimates are high impact, large attacks that take longer to charge up but create devastating amounts of damage. Within the duelist specialization, I have access to a unique ultimate ability called a Murder of Crows. I'll unlock this ability and then switch over to my character screen to equip my new ultimate. You can swap out your abilities and ultimates anytime you're not in combat. You can also enhance your abilities with enchantments.
Okay, it looks like you do have 4 abilities corresponding with your buttons, so they don't overblow you. Overload may not be the word I want to use, but I don't know. Like doing it in my head, you have the sticks, right? So you have your 4 buttons, and your left trigger is a modifier to give you technically 3 more buttons, or maybe 4 more buttons. Now I think about it, so 8 buttons, 8 abilities, and then you also have abilities on your bumpers. So 6 and 6, like Dragon Age, you might actually have a good number of abilities to choose from to use on the fly in combat. Uh, Oddly though, like especially if you happen to check out my live stream of my gameplay, like you probably only end up like really using 2 or 3. I think we'll have to watch a bit more, but they may have streamlined this in a way that took that into account.
But we'll get to that in part 2. By leveling up, unlocking new skills, and choosing a specialization, you can start to design your ideal playstyle. But this is only the beginning.
What I'm guessing is, like I mentioned earlier, in Inquisition, your left trigger is a modifier. It just switches what your face buttons do. So if you get rid of the left trigger being a modifier and you give it a different function, you do lose powers on your power tray essentially, but you might get more versatility in sense of like what weapons you bring to bear. I am noticing though in the power wheel there seems to be a cross like for an X pad, or like a, you know what I mean, the up and down, the old school. And so I'm wondering if also you see down here, I'm gonna use my mouse. You see there, that looks like your potions, maybe your health. So I'm not sure. I'm wondering if you can use the D-pad to switch your stance between, like, say, um, your daggers or your bow. Huh. And then it looks like they're keeping track of the number of arrows you have, which would be new for. No, it wouldn't be new. Origins, you could run out of arrows, I think. That isn't. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. Origins could run out of arrows. Part 2, I can't remember. Part 3, no. Inquisition, you got infinite arrows. So it looks like I see here there's an arrow counter, but I'm thinking that might be specialty arrows, because 8 arrows, I mean, unless they're really going to tick up the damage, 8 arrows is not very many. So let's see if they get, we'll figure out
In
more.
part 2, we'll talk about item progression.
But look at those swords. Look how long they are. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Pay for the expensive YouTube. I'm sorry. Okay.
Your character Rook can equip
Okay.
up to 9 items.
Okay.
Each class has their own main hand, offhand, and alternate weapon.
Okay.
For example, my rogue has a sword, a rapier, and a bow.
I'm about to pause it only because I want to point out something very important. You see these little eyeballs things? I'm guessing that that is going to be the transmography thing. So that means that if you think the dwarven longsword is the dopest looking sword you ever saw, but it only does 63 points of damage and you're going to get killed now because you're too late in the game, you can now make whatever weapon you have look like the dopest weapon you ever saw. And thank you, because the dopest weapons in Inquisition, come on, man. Like, damn, I used to get so mad. But yeah, so this is dope. The Now another thing I'm curious about is, and like seriously, like I've always wanted this in Inquisition, especially. You run across Templars, Red Templars. That's a dude with a sword, and he can block and he can attack. And I'm like, if the sprite can block and attack with just the sword, what am I doing? How come I can't have a sword and just have a sword and block with my sword? Like, what's going on here? So I'm really, really hoping, even though I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think they're gonna let me have it. I'm really hoping there's a warrior build where I just have a sword and I can block with my sword. I think that the best I can hope for is two swords, and I'll take it. I'll take it. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
For ranged attacks. You also have a helmet, armor, a belt, an amulet, and 2 rings. You
Okay.
can acquire items in 2 ways. The first is by visiting vendors and faction stores. The higher you raise your reputation with each faction, the more items become available for purchase.
Honestly, I think that is left over from the live service aspect of the game. Factions reek of DC Universe Online, which was always so weird. We need you to save the world. However, we also need you to build some relationships with us so that we feel like we're on good terms despite the stakes. So, but it's all good. It's just it's a mechanic. It keeps the game. It gives it some room to breathe. It's no big deal. But yeah, having to get favor with factions sounds like MMO kind of multiplayer kind of stuff. But hey, we'll see.
The second way to acquire items is simply by finding them in the world. For example, while exploring the Necropolis
Look at
halls, I
that.
discover a new main hand weapon, the Enchanted Longblade. Every
Okay.
item has stats and properties, as well as a rarity, ranging from uncommon to rare, to epic, to legendary. This uncommon item has high physical damage and stagger stats, along with a property that deals plus 20% final attack damage,
Nice.
making the final blow and attack chains
Man,
more
I hope y'all can
powerful,
hear.
perfect for my melee focused assassin build.
Okay. Okay. I almost missed that. Okay. She is a rogue and she is an assassin, and that is a long sword, and that is a big, huge deal. In Origins, you could play a rogue, and you were running around with daggers. You could level up some stuff and get like, I think you could get to, it was called like Ravager or something like that, where you could carry two long swords. But you're talking about working through the game prestige to like, finally I got these two swords. Like, I don't know where this is in the progress of the game, because they're not talking to us about prestige classes. They're talking to us about stuff you can just sort of, I don't know. I think they don't want to spoil it. So like, I don't want to spoil it either. So I don't want to get too far off of the, of what she's trying to show me. I don't want to guess too much or get too excited, but yeah, the fact that she's running around with a long sword and she's a rogue assassin is dope. I just want to see if she can put the other sword away and just have the, because are you, if you ever seen Willow, you know what I'm talking about. So it's like, could you imagine playing a game this dope and you can't be the dude from Willow? What y'all doing? Like, y'all killing me with that. So let's see. Let's see.
But what if I want to make it even better? At the heart of item progression is the Caretaker's Workshop. The Caretaker is a mysterious entity that has set up shop in your home base. the lighthouse.
I didn't want to talk about this too much because this is super spoilers. Oh, man. Okay,
Here you can
they're
upgrade your
not gonna
item
do a sin like
stats
that
and
because this is
enchant your
super
items.
spoiler stuff. The
The
caretaker,
workshop has its own
they,
rank,
they they talked
zero
about a
out of
few
10.
things that I had the
You can increase
volume
this
turned
rank
down,
by
and I
finding
didn't talk about
caretaker
them because
mementos in the
I
world
my
and
heart is
buying them at
breaking.
shops.
I'm so excited. Like
The higher
you're
the
gonna
rank,
do some
the
stuff
better your
that
upgrades.
gives you some lore
When you
insights
upgrade an
into
item, you'll spend the
some of the way
required
way back stuff.
resources, and that
And so
item
this
will grow
caretaker
stamina
character,
points. At
I
the same
think,
time,
is
its level
going
will
to
increase by
be
1 until it matches the current
similar to
caretaker's
a character
workshop
you
rank.
bumped into. And yes, I'm
A
talking
higher
over
rank
her. This is
unlocks new
spoilers. I
enchantments.
don't want to
These
even.
can be applied to any
Ah,
item or ability, imbuing it with
okay. I
unique
do.
power.
Wait, let's stop real
For
quick.
example,
Real
I
quick.
can
Let's stop
enchant
it real quick because I do like this. I have always had a beef with UI. Like it just, I feel like they're always
the
doing me
world
dirty
or buying them at
trying to find
shops.
it. And games that have a
The
great
higher the
UI
rank,
never
the
get
better your
credit
upgrades.
for it because
When you
some
upgrade it,
games like I'll never mess with them because I can't get through the menus. Like I am trying so hard to hang in there with Phantasy Star Online 2 because it was a game that I had only heard of since the original Phantasy Star on the Sega Master System when I was a little kid. I had only heard of it. It was like this mythical thing. And to finally play it. But that game's menus, you see these glasses. Oh, I hate it so much. Why is it's like idiocracy. It's like everything on the screen, all over the place, trying to sell me stuff. I am determined to not spend a dime because of the stupid UI. Like I want to play the game so bad, but they make me not want to play because I can't see and interact with the game because it's so confusing. I like how streamlined this is, and I love at the top of the screen you got your whole squad. The Inquisition UI wasn't the worst thing ever by any stretch, but there was some tedium there. Some weird stuff with like loading, and I don't know, like I may have mentioned this before, but I would have really have liked to have been able to incorporate my crafting into my on-screen prompts to kind of keep that organized. So let's say I wanted to make a sword that required a certain amount of leather. If I decide that that's what I want to make, how come that doesn't essentially like generate a fetch quest on my HUD? So now I know how many of these poor rams I gotta shoot down before I can stop and then tearfully make this, this weapon or whatever like that I needed to kill those rams for. Like you don't know until you've killed a snow floor. Like that's wrong. That's wrong. But like yeah, it's not like because it's a nitpicky thing to complain about, but it's one of those things where when the sequel comes around, if you can make it a little bit better, I think that this banner across the top of the screen does. I think that looks a little cleaner. I think that basically once you tab, you go over to Davrin. Now everything on this main screen is just Davrin. So if you are comfortable with your own UI, then you just run Davrin's the same and Emmerich and so on and so forth. And I think I hope that that's better. And I think it might cut down on some of the because sometimes you're like trying to like set up costuming and stuff, and you're waiting for Vivienne to load so you can tell if her fit looks right. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best, but yeah, this dude in what's the one called? In Trespasser, you run across a spirit in where in the lighthouse or whatever it's called, and then you have a really good conversation. But the spirit is like distressed, and if you're not careful, I think you actually do combat with the spirit and can destroy it maybe. So like every single playthrough, you may not get a chance to talk to the spirit. Uh, if you have the wrong party members, maybe the spirit is unable to be calmed enough. I think it's called like the librarian. I feel like there's going to be some not one to one connection, but there's some kind of similarity in terms of the purpose they serve. And so I'm looking super forward to running into this dude in full, like straight up.
Item, you'll spend the required resources, and that item will get a stat increase. At the same time, its level will increase by 1 until it matches your current Caretaker's Workshop rank. A higher rank unlocks new enchantments.
Enchantment?
These can be applied to an item or ability, imbuing it with a unique property. For example, I can enchant my main hand weapon with plus 25% more stagger to quickly set up enemy takedowns. I'll also add an enchantment to one of my abilities, Toxic Dash, to increase its crit damage by 25%. Your companion's items can be upgraded and enchanted as well. More on that in part 3. But the workshop rank affects more than just the items you bring to the shop. Anytime you find or buy a new item in the world, its level will match the current rank. So if your current rank is 1, new items you find will be at level 1. But if your current rank is 5, new items will be at level 5.
Now that's nice.
And if you find or purchase a duplicate of an item you already own, 2 things happen.
To buy stuff?
The
Jesus.
level of your existing item will jump up to match the Caretaker's Workshop rank, increasing its stats. The item will also be empowered, unlocking a property and increasing its rarity. Buying a duplicate of my offhand weapon, the Duelist Blade, bumps up the blade's stats, unlocks a property that applies necrosis to enemies I hit with Riposte, and changes its rarity from uncommon to rare. So it's a good idea to keep leveling up your character.
Okay, that is cool. But you heard her, right? If you find more of your uncommon dagger, it becomes rare. I'm okay with this because it's a game mechanic. But I want us all to sit there for a second and remember that we know what common means and we know what rare means. So if I get more common stuff, then it can't suddenly become rare. Like you found like 27 common things, so you got one rare thing. That is not math, my friend. BioWare, it's okay. You got to do what you got to do. I understand. I'm with it. I'm gonna buy this game. I'm gonna play this game. You did that. You did that.
Caretaker's Workshop, because the higher its rank, the better your items will be, whether you're upgrading them at the workshop or finding them out in the world. Another item type you can find or buy are runes. Each rune provides a passive bonus to your build, as well as an active bonus you can trigger. Up to 3 runes can be slotted into Rook's Lyrium Dagger. I'll slot in this Scorch rune, which allows my otherwise necrotic focus build to deal out fire damage. But skills, items, and upgrades aren't the only elements of creating your build, because in the Veilguard, you're not fighting alone.
Okay. Anyone else see that? And again, it's fine. I think that we may not be seeing a one-to-one. You got to put your crosshairs. That's what it is. The word reticle, we're going to break up. Me and Reticle are going to talk via text message, and then I'm going to ghost that word, and I'm going to say crosshairs. I'm going to get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say crosshairs, crosshairs, crosshairs. And never say, because my brain wants to say reticle, and my mouth is like, no. So crosshairs, crosshairs, crosshairs. It looks like you are going to be able to manually put the crosshairs on your enemy and fire. But now I'm not 100% sure. I can't tell for certain. I think so, but watch this. It's very slight, but I think it's something about a targeting system, not necessarily moving the camera center screen on your enemy like a shooter. That's what I'm talking about. Like I think it may have some Mass Effect fun stuff, but it may not do that, and that's totally fine.
Aren't the only elements of creating your build. Using
Watch.
the Veilguard, you're not fighting alone.
You see, the crosshair is
In
not
part
center
3, we'll
screen.
talk about
It's
companion
it's a
progression.
tracker. I don't think it's tough. I may have to like edit this because I'm gonna edit this anyway. This
Each
isn't
companion
live,
has their own skill
but
tree and
yeah.
unique items. They can be equipped with a main hand weapon, an offhand weapon or keepsake, armor, and a trinket.
Oh,
Some gear, such as this Corvid cloak on Lucanus, can enhance my character's build. In this case, applying bleeding or necrotic damage whenever I detonate an overwhelmed target. And at the
okay.
Caretaker's Workshop, I can upgrade and enchant companion items just like Rook's gear. Let's
I am totally in the camp of simulating a tabletop experience in terms of like NBA 2K my player. Let me be me and let Kyrie and them get their jumpers in the gym and not worry about me, and I will worry about me. I'll get my own shoes and work out my own skills and me and the team, but let me be me and I'll deal with me. They got rid of you having to equip your party with items, which, I mean, can be fun. Like I enjoyed crafting weapons for my squad and crafting all that kind of stuff, but items are sort of an afterthought, you know. So I don't mind one way or the other, but it seems like they're like, again, it looks like they're trying to look at every single aspect of the game so far, and anytime someone was like, "Do we have to?" They're like, nah. And that's what it feels like. Like, so if you don't have to do it in Dragon Age, they're not going to make you no more. So that's what it feels like, at least. So it looks like you don't have to worry about getting all the rings and amulets and talismans and stuff for your party, just a trinket, which kind of, again, goes back to part two. Because in part two, you don't have to do none of that. I think maybe weapons? Maybe? Like, they would find like bonuses to their costumes randomly as the game progressed, but you weren't really getting involved with their fit, in part two. So again, it's one of those things where it looks like they like made the game a little bit more, which is fine because I would love it if my party was completely self, or at least okay. And this goes back to a larger philosophy. I don't want anything for me necessarily. I know that sounds strange, but like I feel like the beauty of this game is in the fact that they are aware that they have a great deal of control. And while it may be true that you can't please all of the people all the time, you can swing for the fences. And I feel like they're trying to swing for the fences and make a game for everyone. And I know the conventional wisdom about that not being a thing, but look, this looks like a game that you can make insanely difficult, that kicks your ass all over Thetis and is hard as shit. And it also seems like they're gonna make a game that damn near plays like a Telltale games. And I'm just with that because why not? I want you to have whatever experience you have because this shit ain't cheap. And so I want the playbook to be open. I want everybody to be able to buy this game and make it theirs. And I feel like that's what BioWare's goal is ultimately. Now, I'm hoping that translates well and that people don't feel like the game is too one thing or spread itself too thin trying to be everything. But I feel like that's where they're going. Like this game is gonna let you customize the absolute shit out of it, and I feel like, especially in a game that's not trying to be a part of a competitive space. Like I get why Call of Duty is Call of Duty and League of Legends. Those are games that are trying to speak to an audience to evolve something like completely differently. Man, we've been here for 42 minutes. Let me stop talking shit and watch the rest of this video. I'm so sorry, y'all. Hold on. Let's go.
upgrade Lucanus's
10-minute
Corvid cloak
video,
to level 5,
42 minutes.
greatly increasing its bonus ability damage,
Okay.
and enchant it with +1 maximum stack of necrosis. Companions also have their own skill trees, so as they level up, you can spend points to unlock skills that complement your own. Some abilities can serve as primers, applying status effects to enemies such as sundered, overwhelmed, or weakened. Other abilities are detonators, combining with primers to create powerful detonations on status-afflicted targets. You can swap out companion abilities anytime you're not in combat, just like Rook. In some cases, you'll want to spec companions with abilities that can fill in for weak spots in your build. For example, if I know I'm going to face a horde of Darkspawn, which are resistant to my Rook's necrotic damage but weak against fire, I'll want to bring along a companion like Davrin, who has powerful fire abilities.
Look at that. Look at that.
Nev,
You saw that? The empty box? I'm just saying, her secondary was empty.
detonate targets that I've primed.
See it? Empty.
First, I'll use Davrin's Asan's strike ability to inflict fire damage and knock down his Darkspawn.
All right. Do you
Next,
see her on the
Rush
field?
to the
I
top
think
of
she's
the
over on the
field,
left.
Prime a target with the Sundered status.
You see her over there?
I'll use Nev's Icebreaker ability on the Sundered enemy to detonate it. In other situations, such as this battle against the undead, I want to max out my necrotic damage potential. I can accomplish that by bringing along Lucanus, a fellow rogue whose gear and abilities increase the amount of necrotic damage I can deal out.
And she's running with 3 rogues, which I've done
Our
in
progression systems
Inquisition.
allow you to finely
It's
tune your
it's
skills,
fun. It can be fun.
gear, and companions to create the perfect build.
All right, look at her empty hand. Okay, I don't know for sure, but I am dying on the inside. All right, let's stop it one last time. That's the dude. I don't know if he's the one playing and she's the one narrating, but this is. I'm gonna link to him in my thing. But let me go back to. Okay, I'm gonna call the video to a close there. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, I'm gonna live stream in about a little bit because I'm off today. I'm gonna live stream Inquisition a little bit more. Probably go to the Winter Palace. So come check that out. See you later.